Hello and welcome to France 24's weekly music show. I'm Jennifer Ben Brahim. Coming up.
I've done everything right, so why is everything wrong? Why do you worry, angel? I've put all I have into writing.
Despite living more than 4,000 miles apart, Alaska Reid and Dylan Fraser crossed geographical barriers, united by a shared love of indie rock and folklore. The result is Witchpost, a spellbinding musical duo whose sophomore EP Butterfly is out now. Alaska and Dylan join me in the studio to tell us more. Welcome to France 24.
Thanks for having us.
So as I mentioned, Dylan, you're from Scotland, Alaska, you're from the US, from Montana. So how on earth did you two meet?
I actually discovered Alaska's music online. I used to take the train from Edinburgh to London King's Cross a lot to do music stuff. And it was the only time I had to listen to like new albums and like just, soak up some music. So I found Alaska's solo album, Big Bunny, and I sent her a message online and kind of the rest is history.
Yeah, and I was joking around because I had done some internet sleuthing about you and I saw that Livingston was nearby where you currently were living or where your parents were living, Bathgate. And I was like, maybe he thinks I'm from this Livingston. Obviously, you did not think that.
Because that's where you're from, right? Is that Livingston in Montana?
Yeah, that's the place I feel most from. I was born in Michigan, and then I moved a bit, and then I spent, the biggest chunk of my kind of formative years in Montana, so. Ask a certain Montana and they'd say, no way. They'd be like, get out of here. I'm fifth generation. That's their big thing,
So aside from having, coming from towns of similar names, you're also kind of united by this love of songwriting and also blending kind of folklore from your respective homelands.
Yeah, I think the thing with Witchpost, we wanted to do something different because we've both been solo artists and, we'll probably do solo stuff in the future, but we wanted to be really purposeful, and we were kind of both doing different things. You were signed to a major and doing slightly more pop-leaning stuff, and then I don't know what I was doing. I'm always doing something crazy musically, and so when we came together, we were like, how are we gonna make this identity? We were very reluctant to have a band. It kind of just happened organically. We were having fun writing together, and people kept saying weird stuff to us, like, I like this. And I'm like, what? People don't really say this all the time about my solo stuff. We were getting some kind of, validation, very micro validation, and that sort of snowballed, and we were like, we should do this band. And then when we did that, we had chats about how do we differentiate it from our solo stuff, and the idea of ghosts and fairies, and then I have a kind of like crazy American cowboy version of that,
And somehow they are similar together. They do blend very nicely, the two different histories. Now, before we talk more about your new EP, let's listen to Witching Hour from Butterfly.
It's the witching hour, and then you call, driving circles around your house and sit in the parking lot. It's the witching hour, and it's all laid bare. The snow is turning gray, and I'm ashamed to be a little scared. Sometimes I try so hard, but I still get you down.
Now, I actually want to know where this name came from, which post?
Yeah, Alaska actually was the one that came up with the name. She went to a folklore kind of museum in the Yorkshire Moors, and she saw a witch post that was carved into the wood post of a fireplace, and she felt compelled to kiss it, I think.
Yeah.
And there was sort of some magic in that, and a black cat started following her around. And
It sounds false, but it's true. It's true.
And actually, another interesting thing about the name is I didn't know what witch post was when Alaska told me, so I went online and I searched it, and it turns out it was used to ward off spirits and witches in the kind of, I guess, medieval-ish times. Or was it medieval?
It's actually more like 17th century.
17th century. I'm bad with my history, but and basically I found out that what they carve into the witch post is the St. Andrew's Saltire, which is the Scottish flag, and Alaska hadn't copped that at the time, so it was
That's a
kind
nice
of
full
witchy.
circle moment of like two cultures or like interests coming together. And I'm guessing, have you both always been interested in what the kind of maybe supernatural, all that is witchy? Is that something that has been kind of interesting to both of you?
I've always felt like, I think I've maybe tapped less into like the kind of, you know, fantasy side of folklore, but I've always visually been very like drawn and attracted to those kind of themes. And also, I don't know, I've always felt that there's something sort of thing guiding me through, you know, like some maybe have a little pet ghost or something.
Well, it makes life more fun, or interesting at least, to have, you know, to be able to expand it outside of what is tangible. But I read a lot of fantasy, and, you know, I'm actually kind of even currently working on a sort of book that has a little bit of fantasy elements in it. And I would write to witches when I was younger and make fairy houses, so I was that kind of little girl. And I'm lucky that Dylan indulges that in a cool way.
Well, you found,
make it cool.
I think for Scotland, like folklore and all that's witchy is just very deeply rooted in
More
identity.
casual in a weird
Yeah.
way.
And I have to ask you, you know, you had such massive critical success after Beast, a lot of very positive reviews from critics, and now with Butterfly, like, where do you feel pressure to kind of follow this up? How was the process of making this EP different from your debut?
I think that, well, you know, we made this EP kind of in tandem with Beast because we were anywhere that anyone would take us, you know. We had no budget for these things, so we were in Montana at Alaska's place, and we would do stuff at my place in London and French studios, Belgium studios. So it was very sort of DIY and like, you know, rough and ready in the way that we recorded these, and they kind of worked together, which is why we did, like, you know, when we decided to do vinyl, we decided to do like a kind of double vinyl thing for these EPs because they just felt like they were working together in some way. And when we were making them, they were kind of looping in and out of one another. It wasn't like we fully wrote Beast at one time and fully wrote Butterfly. They were sort of weaving into one another as it was happening.
Like
So
companion pieces to each other.
yeah.
Now we're going to move on to someone else who is also very linked to storytelling and spirituality, and you might like the sound of her music. She's Canadian-Haitian musician Dominique Fils-Aimé, and she's on tour with her latest album, My World Is My Son, and that record is deeply rooted in her family's history. I actually got to chat with her in Paris before her show. Take a listen.
My name is Dominique Fils-Aimé, and I'm here to promote my new album, My World is the Sun, at France 24. The title, My World is the Sun, well, it's 5 words because it's the 5th album, but it's also probably the most honest statement I've ever made as a title because I am a fan of the sun, all the metaphors that go with it, and summer is my happiest time. Am I seeing double? Think I'm seeing double. So I discovered a cassette with my mom's voice recording and guitar playing from the 70s. So the album begins with the recording of her singing in the 70s, and it ends with me singing it back to her. And since it's an album that is dedicated to her, it felt like the universe bringing it at the perfect time. Fire, rain, down on me. So I wrote Phoenix Rising at a very special time where I was with the band and we were just rehearsing, and then I started playing with the upright bass and they laughed at me a little, but then the next day I had a song, which is a good way to remind them that transforming ourselves sometimes is not about becoming someone new, but about getting back to the child in us that just wants to play. Right through you hand in hand, to rejoice while we still mourn, really one and the same, ashes to final form. When I hear music, I definitely see color, and they call it synesthesia. Every album has a link to the color of a chakra that is linked to the album, and this one being purple is about the crown chakra and its spirituality, and it's the mix of fire and water. All the love on this earth. up, I was listening to anybody, anything that brought me joy or that made me feel. I was listening to Beethoven, System of a Down, Lauryn Hill. So it was very eclectic, and still today I listen to pretty much anything.
So that's Dominique Fils-Aimé, who is heading out on her Canadian leg of a tour. Now, Alaska and Dylan, I also believe that you're working on a full-length album. What can you tease for us about this?
We're just trying to write better songs, and because it's chasing something. I think being a songwriter, you're always trying to chase the best song, and so we're trying to have no fear and not have any preconceived notions of what we want and really just let the songwriting lead us. So I don't know if you like songs.
Yeah, I think we're just trying to have fun with it and not get to... That's kind of what's been fun about our music so far, is that, we put obviously a lot of work into it, but we try not to get too caught up in...
We're not trying
things.
to fit in with anybody or any scene, really. I'd love that, but we just want to do something that we get excited by hearing. So
Yeah.
I'm sad to say we've come to the end of the show. I want to thank Alaska and Dylan for coming in to speak to us on France 24. They're currently on tour. You can actually catch them this week right here in Paris at the Azal Ludique. Now, before we go, just enough time to tell you about the riotous new single from a British pop star and actress, Charli XCX. And actually, I believe Alaska and Dylan, she does play some part in how you both met. Tell us more.
Yeah, we met at one of her shows, and Alaska came up and tapped me on the shoulder, and we didn't know one another was there. So
I'm happy she's joining the rock music a little bit. So I'm really happy.
The song was recorded right here in Paris at the legendary Boyer Studios. We'll leave you with that. Now, for more arts and culture, you can head to our website. There's more news coming up on France 24 right after this.
So now we're making rock.